Hello guys and welcome to another video. Heartstopper Season 2 just dropped, so let's talk about it. If, like me, you're one of those crazy obsessed people who watched all of Heartstopper in one day, in almost one sitting, welcome. If you're a normal person who hasn't watched it yet but wants to know if it's good and if they should watch it, welcome. Today we're going to discuss every single detail of Heartstopper Season 2, Episodes 1 through 8. So grab some popcorn, grab some tea or some coffee, because this is gonna be a long one. As a fan of the graphic novels Season 1 and I have many things to say about this season, so let's get started. To start us off, let's talk about 4 things that Season 2 did better than Season 1 and 4 things Season 2 did kind of worse than Season 1. Let's start with what they did better. Season 2 had a lot more budget, and there was one simple thing where you could notice this, and this was location. Because Season 1, they only shot it at Charlie's and Nick's houses, the park, and the schools. Flash forward to Season 2, which in comparison has a lot of shots of the street. And that might not sound like much, but when my brother and I got to the first episode and they walked to the post office, our minds were blown. Because not only does that mean they do have a much bigger budget to shoot on location, but it also gives it a much more realistic feel. I'm so glad that Season 1 did well, because Season 2 could not have been made without this budget. The next thing they did well, I feel like, is better acting. Harry in particular, if you've seen my videos reacting to the episodes from Season 1, you know that I'm not the biggest fan of his acting. I love his character, not because he's a good person and I like him, just because he's so unintentionally funny, because he's such a prat. He's such an idiot that I love him. So I did see growth in his acting and development, and he had some gems in the show. The third thing they did better was giving more subtle storylines to like C-tier characters. So we have the A-tier characters, obviously Nick and Charlie, then B-tier, their best friends who are in relationships who get more screen time, and then we have C-tier characters like Tori or Isaac, and we'll talk about both of them later because there's a lot of thoughts regarding them. Oh my god, I have so much to say about Isaac. And finally, I feel like in Season 2, the characters, especially the side characters, were just better. Imogen stole the show for me. She was the Ken to Heartstopper's Barbie. She was everything. She was the moment. Every time she was on screen and Ben wasn't in the scene, I knew that whatever came out of her mouth was going to be pure gold. But of course, it wasn't all good, and there were also some things that Season 2 did kind of worse than Season 1, starting off with the graphic effects. So for Season 1, I was excited to see how they would incorporate that graphic novel look into the show. And I thought they did so well. Sometimes it felt like too heavy-handed. I do really like the panels and how it switches from one scene to another. I think that's used perfectly. And honestly, I think that's the only place where it should be used. Overall, I think those graphics and those animations make the show feel a little bit more childish than it is. The second thing that they did worse is a bit contradictory to what I said before, and this is giving side characters too much importance and too much screen time. Obviously, I've read the graphic novels. I've been reading them since 2016 on Tapas, so I know my stuff. And the graphic novels were only about Nick and Charlie, and I love that this is expanding on the world, because we can't have 2 whole seasons for 3 graphic novels with just Nick's and Charlie's storylines. It just wouldn't be enough. So it makes sense to add B plots and C plots. I think we just got too lost in it. To me, it makes sense to give Tara and Darcy more screen time, but to give Elle and Isac more screen time to them specifically, I feel like they would deserve more screen time if it was them as a group, not them individually. And we'll talk more about this later, because Elle, gosh, I had some thoughts about Elle this season. Third thing they did worse was the parent casting. Obviously, we all love Nick's mother, okay? But I don't understand how they got Charlie's and Tori's parents casting so wrong. Like, that is okay, but the mom? Where did the redhead come from, and where did it go? One thing that I think they did worse was the character of Isaac. I'm not a fan, okay? Let's just put that out there. I know a lot of people are fans, and I've been getting a lot of comments of people saying that I shouldn't hate on him in my reaction videos, but sometimes you don't like a character, and that's fine, and that character for me is Isac. I can't stand him. Every time he's on screen, it's irritating. I'm gonna have a whole section ranting about Isac, so look forward to that. I was gonna say, I don't know what it is about him to tear into him too much, but I do know every single thing that I don't like about him. So for now, let's move on to reviewing the series episode by episode. So episode 1 basically follows Nick starting to want to come out to people beside his mom, to his oldest friend, which happens to be Imogen. And he tries a couple of times, but he's not confident enough in himself yet to come out with it until he corners her in the bathroom at Charlie's house. And Imogen, because she's just the best, spills the tea and says oh, it's this about Charlie because it's super obvious that you guys are in love with each other. And she's like, oh my god, I'm so sorry. Did you want to do it yourself? I don't know how to react. I love her. Other than that, we start to see that Ben is still here for some reason, and he still completely
sucks.
We don't know necessarily, but we do know that Imogen is into Ben now, and we are not happy about it, especially Nick. And we start to see, after a very, very cute montage of Nick and Charlie starting dating and, the first few months of them being an official couple, we start to see that maybe, they've become a little codependent, and Charlie has stopped paying attention to his schoolwork because all he wants to do is snuggle against his golden retriever boyfriend. And who can fault him? His parents. So I was annotating on my little notebook here while I watched the episodes, and the first thing that I have written here for episode 2 is Nick 100% butt. I don't know what it is about the pants that he wears to school, but they make his butt look so good. I've never seen a huger, more rounder, prominent butt in my life, and I just have to say props to Kit Connor because it's very impressive. Previous episode, Ben sucked. In this episode, David graces us with his beautiful presence, and he is the one to suck in this episode. The most important thing that happens here, besides, David being an absolute hole, is that Tao comes clean to his friends and tells them that he likes Elle. Obviously, Elle has been coming on to him since the first episode, and especially in the sleepover, so he's gotten the vibes, and he's ready to give them back. However, Elle, being the artist that she is, wants to go to an art school, and she goes to an open night where she meets other trans kids who she starts hanging out with, and suddenly they're very buddy-buddy. And we all know Tao. We all know that he's the most insecure person on the planet that there ever lived. So obviously, Tao is feeling extremely self-conscious about Elle having other friends and being left behind and forgotten and being left alone, okay? The boy has issues and we love him for it. So he starts to think about getting a makeover, and God, it was about time. Say goodbye to the hair swoopies, people. So moving on to episode 3. Nick and Charlie are very happy together, and they're very happy to express their love for each other in school while they're still not out as a couple. So they try to hide the fact that they're dating, but the quotes are very important in that sentence because they're in the puppy love stage of their relationship, the honeymoon phase. So they don't notice that everything they do is romantic couple coded, and they kiss everywhere with no subtlety whatsoever. They've never heard of closing a door or closing a door with a lock. So every time they make out at school, I'm just over here being the only one panicked in this threesome parasocial relationship, being afraid that they're going to be found out, and then there's going to be hardcore bullying. And I honestly did not have to be put through that to watch Heartstopper. We also get Tara saying I love you to Darcy for the first time, and Darcy's mind just completely exploding, short-circuiting, brain farted like you've never seen before. And I think she goes brain dead for a couple of seconds, and then she resets and pretends that nothing happened and just goes back to being the same old lovable, goofy Darcy. Yeah, we're gonna talk more about that later because it comes back to haunt us. So by this episode, for some reason, Imogen and Ben are already dating, and it's clear to everyone except Imogen herself that Ben is just doing this to annoy Nick and for popularity points. So they have a meeting to talk about the Paris trip, and they have to make groups of 4, but it can only be boys with boys and girls with girls because it's to share rooms. And Imogen is just, she's one of the lads, she's one of the rugby lads, one of the mates. And she doesn't have any girlfriends. So all the lads around her start making plans to be in a group, and she's like, oh, I'm gonna be left alone. I don't have any girlfriends because there's too much drama. And that was extremely sad. And I just wanted to go in there and be like, I'll share a room with you. I'm like 24 years old. I'm not going to Paris, but I'll share a room with you. So even though Tao is going to Paris, he doesn't go to the meeting because he was getting a makeover to shoot his shot with Elle. He goes there after it's done, basically in a suit with his new hairstyle, which looks so much better on him, and which he got because of Elle's comments, with a bouquet of red roses. And in front of all of their friends, with like the most awkward, intense posture you've ever seen on a child, he confesses his feelings for Elle. And I was like, boy, it's cute because it's you, but do not do this. Do not confess your feelings for your best friend in front of all of your friend group, because I feel like Elle felt really uncomfortable, but it felt like she only said yes because people were watching. Until the second half of episode 3, Elle is completely head over heels for Tao. Anything he does, anything his dorky self does, she's like, oh my god, no man like him has ever existed. Right after Tao confesses his crush to her, she's like, oh, I don't care anymore. And her level of I'm gonna try just drops to 0. She stops trying immediately. Tao has planned a very cute date to go to the movies. One thing he loves, to go watch a movie that she loves. And all throughout that, she's the most awkward person I have ever seen. It's like they've never talked in their life. Their chemistry goes from like 90% to barely 5%. It's like they're on a blind date and no one knows what to do, and Tao is just like
trying his best
and putting in the effort. And okay, he might not be acting like Tao 100%, but he's trying, and it's wholesome, it's cute, and you can see that he's trying to be a good boyfriend and a good date to her, and she's like not doing anything to make it easier for him. The boy shoots his shot yet again and grabs her hand while they're sitting in the cinema, and it's like this. Okay, her hand is like this, and he goes like this, and she doesn't move it. She doesn't intertwine their fingers. Nothing. Not one single sign from her that she was enjoying this date whatsoever. So after that, she gets mad and they go to the party. And in the party in the woods, which is creepy as hell, she goes to talk to her new friends from that art school, and she hadn't told Tao at all. So Tao's like, wait, I thought you wanted to hang out with me because obviously that's what we were doing. And she's like, oh, I want to hang out with my new friends. Okay, can I do that? And obviously, Elle, that's not the point. You just don't say, let's go to a party while you're in a date and then go hang out with other friends that he doesn't even know when you get to the said party. And then it's super awkward and they're both like, okay, this is not gonna work. After one failed date, we're just gonna call it quits. And honestly, Tao deserved so much better. I was so mad at Elle until like episode 6 or 7 because she was just so awkward and nothing, okay? I'm a Tao apologist, nothing was Tao's fault. It's then at this party that we get Charlie's best line in the whole season. Harry, of course, starts bothering Nick because that's just who he is. He just cannot read the mood to save his life. And Charlie just appears out of nowhere and he's like, piss off. And that just, I don't know, that made me really happy. And in this episode, we raise the question, what the fuck is going on with Tori? Because she just starts wearing all black, like very big hoodies and just looking super sad and depressed. I'm not saying that's bad. I'm just saying that it's like not a complete 180, but it just happens all of a sudden and we don't know why. And she goes to the party, but she's alone at the party all the time. And I know that fits with her character, but it also doesn't fit with her character in her book Solitaire because she did have a best friend. So I'm confused, and I feel that it's weird that Charlie doesn't address this at all, because every time we see her, she is alone and sad looking, and Charlie doesn't say anything. At the end of the episode, we get the gang ready to go to the Paris trip. For the first time, we see Isac talking, which is crazy, and I love to see it because he never says anything. He's always there, reading, but he doesn't say anything except like a quick remark or something like that. But in this episode, at the end, he starts talking to Charlie, and he's like, oh, how did you know you liked Nick like that? And at the beginning, he's like, yeah, vibing. And then Charlie says, and I felt like kissing him all the time. And he's like,
not vibing with that one anymore. It's weird.
And that's the first nod that we get to Isac's character arc, which we'll talk more about later. Moving on to episode 4. So episode 4 is our first whole day in Paris, and we get Elle being so awkward, and I don't want to say mean, but very cold towards Tao when he's just trying to be normal. He's just trying to go back to being normal best friends or just friends, and she's like, I don't want to do things with you. I want to do things with my new friends. Tao had such a glow up both physically and emotionally from the first season to this one, because in the first season he was emotionally constipated. He was continuously worrying about people leaving him behind and leaving him alone for no reason. However, in this season, he does give us a reason later on as to why he has those issues, and I feel like it makes his character so much more well-rounded, and I just loved him. He just put so much effort into everything. I also love that even though Tao already knows in the show that Nick and Charlie are dating, not like in the graphic novel where he didn't know, he still makes them have to choose different beds so Charlie doesn't feel uncomfortable, and I think this is like classic Tao behavior, and I love him. But we also get a scene that made me like Isac a bit more. He lost his points eventually later on, but for that he got a lot of points with me, and he's partnered up with Harry, and he's just like letting him know what he thinks. Like, you can't just treat people like that. You can't just say comments like that just because you think you're funny. Like, have basic empathy towards other human beings, and I like that about him. Then the whole class goes to get dinner, and Imogen starts noticing that Ben is weirdly obsessed with Charlie, and he doesn't care about her at all. And she calls him out on it, and obviously everyone in the restaurant goes quiet and everyone's eavesdropping into this conversation. But she lets him have it, and of course him having no comeback because he's totally in the wrong for this situation, calls her a and then we have our knight in shining armor for this season. Harry speaks up and he's like, make no need to call her a because obviously, and this dawned on me, that Harry and Imogen are technically friends. They've been part of the same squad since year 7. It made me really happy that he stood up for her and that he separated himself from Ben, who is the literal swastika. I also really love that after Imogen leaves, she goes into the bathroom to cry a little, that both Nick and Charlie stand up, they go after her and they talk to her and they hug it out, and it was such a cute hug. It just cemented in my brain that I need to hug Nick. It looks like he gives the best hugs in the world, and I just want to be hugged by him, and I also want to hug him. I want to hug him like Nick hugs everyone else, to make sure that he gets to experience that incredible experience himself. And at the end of this episode, we get what I've always wanted, Nick and Tao to talk, because they're besties in real life, the actors, and they're my 2 favorite characters. So any interaction, any positive interaction I get of them is just like, thank you for feeding me, mother. Yeah, mother is Alice Oseman, yes. So we get them opening up in the hotel room, and Nick tells Tao, and I quote, "You care about your friends so loudly." And that just made me so happy. And I honestly can relate to Tao. Every time Tao does something, I'm like, you idiot. Why am I the same? So moving on to episode 5. I feel like I haven't talked about Mr. Farouk yet, but he's the new teacher, the one who monitored them while they were studying. And every time the kids won't listen to the other teacher, he's just like, quit! And I love that about him. He's my new favorite teacher. Honestly, every single teacher we've seen so far is 10 out of 10, but I love him specifically. He makes me happy, and I see parts of myself in him. In this episode, we get more of the Tara and Darcy drama. Darcy is being like a very shitty girlfriend. Every time Tara just wants to talk about what happened, the L word incident, and I don't mean lesbian, she just avoids the subject. She's a master avoider, and obviously I know that something's going on with her, but it's very annoying to watch. Then we finally get to the Louvre, and for some reason here, Elle decides that, okay, she's going to stop being so mean and such a bad friend to Tao, and then she's like, let me shoot my shot. Even though I completely turned Tao down before for trying something similar, and she goes and kisses him. And immediately she's like, oh, I made a mistake. I'm like, God, just pick a lane, Elle, pick a lane. And then obviously Tao kisses her, and it's so cute. I really like them. Moving on to the next episode, the first thing I have written is, quote, I need to pee, unquote, and a heart next to it. And that's because in episode 6, we get the party scene where Darcy throws a big party for Tara for her birthday because she's been a horrible girlfriend, and this is a way that she thinks she's gonna compensate for all the shitty behavior. We also get a really cute scene of both Tao and Elle telling each of their friends, like the boys and the girls, that they've kissed, and it's very cute, and in my mind it parallels that scene from Friends when Ross and Rachel first find out, but with them it was like very different reactions. Like the boys are nonchalant, they ask very different questions from the girls, but here it was so cute because they asked very similar questions and they reacted like they were both so happy for them, and I love to see that. Just to clarify, the I need to pee was Charlie walks into the bathroom at the party and Tao and Elle are making out and they're like, get out, and he's like, I need to pee, and that just made me very happy. That was like straight from the graphic novels. Isaac has been very sad throughout this whole Paris trip, and before that, because he's been noticing, as I mentioned in my last reaction video, that their whole friend group is couples. Now it's officially all couples, especially in Paris. And they're all like pairing off and they pay him no mind. Every time they're like, each couple is holding hands and just Isaac is there in the back. In their defense, Isaac is always holding a damn book. There's not one scene in the whole fucking show where Isaac isn't holding a book or reading a book. And I feel like I've made it pretty clear on the internet that I like books and that I like reading. But there's a point where it's too much. You can't go to a party to read books. You can't go to prom with a book. You can't go into a party in the freaking forest with a book, Isaac. And you're wondering why people don't talk to you. It's because you have a book on your hand and your face, and I get that you're a reader, but you have to socialize and, you know, like have human connections. And I get that it might not be his thing, but he can't then complain that his friends don't really pay him that much attention because he doesn't pay attention to them. Most of the time, I think it's really rude that he's in the room with a book in his hand, not paying attention, you know, not doing things with his friends. He's not connecting. He is not being present. It's as annoying as being on your phone. I'm sorry. If you're there, be there. If not, I'm okay with you staying in your room. I would do that. I would stay in my room reading. I wouldn't take my book. Okay? If you're there, be there. I'm very clearly showing that quality time is my preferred love language, but that's just the way it is. Okay, going back to Isaac being Asexual. So Isaac's at the party and he sees all of his friends making out and being coupley and romantic and stuff, so he's very sad. So he goes out and he sits on the hallway without shoes on in the hotel, and he starts reading, of course, because it's Isaac. What else would he do? And then James goes there and they sit together and they have like a cute conversation, I guess. And then James kisses him and Isaac's like, it's not my thing. And then he goes back in and he cries and he's like, all my friends suck because they never pay attention to me. Okay, I'll give him that, but you went to that party with a book in your hand. The next thing I have to say is that why the hell is Ben allowed in the party? Of course we have that iconic scene with Harry trying to get into the party and Charlie being like, no, I don't accept your apology. I don't have to. You've been a world-class. But people let Ben into the party and even into the truth of there, where there was this like super instigator trying to start drama. I thank her for her service because someone needed to get the tea out there, but obviously she was just trying to out people, so no, I don't respect her for that. But yeah, why the hell was Ben allowed into a party and Harry wasn't? I feel like they're on the same level and Ben is clearly worse. Going back to something more serious, we also get James and Isaac finally discussing why things went wrong. James drops this lovely gem on us. You've probably not met the right person yet. And Isaac and I are just left like, well, haven't I heard that one before? After that, Isaac is obviously devastated and he goes back to his friends and they just keep asking him about his love life and about James and if they're like married already. And Isaac, I'll give him this, he had the right to. He explodes basically and he's like, you're all shit friends, you only care about me when you're talking about my love life. You never care about me either way, leave me alone. And he leaves and they're all just like, what just happened? Nobody ever apologized for that, I don't think, and nobody ever talks about that again, so I'm just a bit confused. The next two important things that happen is that one, Elle has an art exhibition for her new school, which she has been accepted into and she doesn't want to tell how yet. And then Ben, the devil incarnate, shows up there and apologizes to Charlie. In my opinion, he just keeps saying he's damaged, but I think it was all fake. I don't know why he kind of wants to get Charlie back. I'm just very confused. I think that people just like the actor and they added him more into the story so as not to like cut him off suddenly and have him disappear. But he wasn't in the graphic novels apart from what's shown in season 1, so I could have been happy without any of that. The second event that we get is a dinner between Nick's family with his dad and his brother and Charlie's family, and we get iconic scenes of Tori like tormenting David for being such a homophobic loser. We also get Nick coming out to his dad. How does this episode end? It ends with poor Darcy, who we finally know why she's so damaged right now, having a talk with her mom, and her mom just being okay with Darcy running off in the middle of the night and spending the night at a park. And then the next episode, everyone's like, oh, where's Darcy? Where's Darcy? It's prom. She should be there. She should be there helping. And Darcy is just in a park. So in this episode, we get to see more Tao and Nick interactions, and they made me so happy. We also get to see like the group being nicer and more friendly towards Isac, because they're like, oh, you should get a picture. He's like, I'm not gonna get a picture by myself. I don't have a date. And then the 4 original friends get a picture together, and I thought that was just so sweet and something that everyone should do. It shouldn't have like taken someone to think of it. It should have just been like an instinctual thing. The prom didn't happen in the original graphic novels. I feel like it's the same thing as with the like tournament that they have at the end of season 1. They just wanted like a big finisher, a big event to end things on a high note. Honestly, I could have done without it, but I guess it was cute. We're gonna talk about Isac now. So Isac is asexual and aromantic, it seems like, even though they didn't really talk about that in depth, but it did scream to me like he was aromantic as well, especially when he goes to the art show and he starts talking to that other guy who randomly like spills his whole life story. Isac is starting to explore his own sexual orientation, and in the middle of prom, because he's Isac, he goes into the library and oh my god, wouldn't you know, there's a whole display of books about asexuality, because why wouldn't there be? I don't know why, but as someone who loves books, collecting books, and reading books, I don't usually like characters who do that. And Isac just rubs me the wrong way. The only thing that I liked about him this season is that he was asexual and aromantic, and that he let Harry know what he thought about him at the Eiffel Tower. Everything else, I'm like, don't speak, because I don't want you to. And obviously no hate to the actor. He played his character well. It's not his fault that his character is just like anti-me. Sometimes you don't mesh with a character and it's happening for me. So, as an ace and arrow person, do I think Isac is good representation? I think that he is. I think though that it could have been done better, because him going into the library and getting the book with Ace written over the cover like in huge bold letters, it was not subtle at all. And I'm not saying that it should be subtle, but like, what really do I have to suspend my disbelief so much to think that just that day there was a huge display on asexuality and during prom he snuck into the library and stole the book? It was done so much better with Nick and just like googling, am I gay? What am I? What is bisexuality? And him watching YouTube videos, because I feel like that's how most people learn about it. It was hard to watch his experience feeling isolated from the rest of his friends, because they were all very clearly in romantic relationships and they're all having coming of age stories with their partners that revolve around their sexuality and their romantic feelings towards one another, something to which he can not relate to. And there was this one line where he says that I love reading romance in books, but I just don't feel that way. And I completely relate to that. I'm the biggest lover of ships in any way, shape, or form, but I can't relate to that and to people in real life. Alice obviously is an Arrow Ace creator, so she's put her whole like heart and soul into this, I imagine. I feel like they said that writing Aro Ace characters is the hardest thing she's ever done. Like, for Loveless, her first book about that orientation, I feel like Alice mentioned that writing about herself is harder. It's also an orientation that's barely talked about online and barely gets any coverage on the media. So I feel like this is probably going to be a lot of people's first sighting of it, which is exciting. I wish it could have been done better. When Alice mentioned she was going to be introducing an asexual character in season 2, obviously everyone thought it was going to be Isac. I wished it was Imogen. I think that what Isac felt was completely valid and that it represents a lot of people's emotions and their journeys to finding out who they are. Honestly, props to him for figuring things out or starting to figure things out when he's 16. I guess it's because all of his friends are in relationships, because it just went straight over my head until the last year of college. I wish there'd been a little bit more setup. We didn't know who James was. I thought he was gonna be his boyfriend, you know, in relationship to what Aled has in the graphic novel. But it took me by surprise that it wasn't, because I thought that Isac was just going to be asexual and not aromantic. But from what we heard, I think he's supposed to be aromantic as well. Please let me know in the comments down below. What do you think? I would love to see more from him and this storyline in the future in season 3. I hope that they continue it, and hopefully a little bit better. My overall thoughts were that I really liked the season. Next time I'm gonna have to watch it like 1 episode a day, but I wanted to make this video and upload it as soon as possible. Oh my god, I didn't talk about Charlie's eating disorder at all. I thought it was actually really well done, and it was hinted at from the very beginning, and I think it was even hinted at in season 1. So I really did like that, and I like where it's going. Not that I like that he has an eating disorder, I like how it's being depicted and talked about. But my favorite things in the show were Nick absolutely adored him. He's also very buff this season, and okay, love him working for it. Tao, just the makeover, everything, him finally opening up to Nick, and him being okay with Elle at the end, even though Elle, I did not like her that much this season. She kind of irked me. I don't think she was a very good friend, and I don't think she tried at all with Tao at the beginning. And I think Tao deserved better than that start to their relationship. I also loved Imogen. She jumped from one of my least favorite characters to my top 3 characters. My top 3 characters right now are Nick, Tao, and Imogen. They're just so cool. Oh, my 4th favorite one is Mr. Farouk. I loved him. I think he didn't have as much chemistry with the other teacher as in the graphic novels, because I didn't get vibes from the other teacher. I got vibes from him, but not vibes from the other teacher, so I'm looking forward to seeing more of them in the future. I'm also looking forward to Nick having other friends outside Charlie's friend group in the future, like going back to his friend group, having friends in his year. I also really want Imogen to be friends with Sahar again. Kind of want to know what happened there, but I don't think they're gonna tell us. I love her having girlfriends and her being incorporated into the friend group. Just oh my god, she's made like such a huge comeback in my mind and in my heart, and I love her now. She means everything to me. So moving on to season 3, what are we gonna see? We're gonna see more of Nick and Charlie struggling through summer separation as Charlie himself struggles with his eating disorder. From Tara and Darcy, I don't know where they go from here, because I feel like there's no more storyline for them as of yet in the graphic novel. From Elle, this is completely new to us, so I have no clue what's gonna happen. Now someone's gonna tell me, yes, Elle left for art school in the graphic novels. I'm gonna be like, I completely forgot that. So please let me know, because I feel like this art school came completely out of left field, but I'm just gonna be so sad. The good thing is that we're gonna get more scenes with Tao and the other group of friends, which is what I like seeing better. We're also going to explore more of Isac's journey, and I'm looking forward to that being more fleshed out. And I'm guessing we're going to see what's going on with Tori. She's gonna finally like cut her hair before school starts and, you know, burn down her school. Please leave a like if you like this video. Leave your theories down below as to what is going to happen in season 3. How much do you think it's going to cover from the graphic novels? And also, please let me know what you thought about Heartstopper season 2, episodes 1 through 8. Click that subscribe button if you haven't already, and click that bell button to get notifications every time I post another video. I post videos just like this normally every single Friday, and I guess I'll see you guys next time. Bye!